And joining us now for more is Ambassador Gerald Feierstein, Senior Vice President of the Middle East Institute and the former U.S. Ambassador to Yemen, and he joins us from Washington, D.C. And Mr. Ambassador, thanks for joining us. First of all, maybe just, I think a lot of the surprise here first is why Saudi Arabia decided to renew relations with Iran at the time. Well, they're still in conflict with them in so many different arenas. For example, Yemen, a country you know well.
Well, I think that that really you need to look at this announcement in the context of discussions that have been going on between Iran and Saudi Arabia for several years now. You can mark the beginning of this process in 2019 when the Iranian attack on Saudi oil facilities in Upcake was not followed by any strong U.S. response. In fact, President Trump at the time indicated that he was not inclined to get involved. And at that point, the Saudis followed an initiative that really had been led by the United Arab Emirates to begin talking to Tehran with a desire to lower tensions. Those conversations have been going on off and on, sometimes in Baghdad, sometimes with the help of the Omanis, for several years. The Saudis have been clear that that in order to respond to the Iranian preference to reopen diplomatic relations, which has really been the Iranian drive, the Saudis wanted to see something tangible in return. They wanted some tangible benefit from agreeing to the Iranian request. Presumably, and it's not entirely clear what that Iranian response is, but one has to assume that it is, in fact, some agreement on the Iranian part to cease any kind of external threat to Saudi security.
Right, which would presumably involve, for example, Yemen attacks on the Saudis from the Houthi rebels, I would guess. But how much, you mentioned the Trump administration, there are some comment analysts in Washington, certainly here in Jerusalem, that are saying, in essence, the Biden administration could have prevented this from happening, or should force it to reevaluate its policy, as we heard in that report, towards the Saudis. What's your feeling on that?
Well, I'm not sure why the Biden administration or any U.S. administration would be opposed or would try to prevent this. It is, in fact, the policy of the Biden administration to seek means of lowering tensions in the region. Certainly, the discussions in Vienna to rejoin the JCPOA were aimed at achieving precisely that objective. And so I think that the administration has said that they welcome it. You can go back and look at the joint communique that was issued at the end of the last U.S. GCC working group on Iran, where it was very clear that the parties wanted to see some kind of diplomatic progress. They wanted to see advancement on resolving differences peacefully. And the GCC states were very clear, including Saudi Arabia, very clear in saying that they wanted to find ways to engage Saudi Arabia, to engage Iran. So I don't think that there would be any basis for the administration to try to block this.
Well, maybe not block this, but I'll give you one reason some are saying this should give the administration pause, and that is the role of China here. The involvement of Beijing, the higher profile involving itself in the region, maybe playing a role that in the past should have been played, for example, by Washington.
Well, Washington, as I think most observers have noted, Washington could not play the role because we have no ability to engage Iran. So we only have relations with one side of the equation. The Chinese have both sides. Again, I think that you can overestimate the role that the Chinese played. It's certainly true that the parties agreed while they were in Beijing, but the basic elements of this agreement have been on the table for a long time now, and other parties have also had influence. So I think that we need to be careful in not overestimating the Chinese role that was played here.
Well, but I just want to follow up on that, because some are estimating it quite highly, saying this is the highest profile role we've seen China play diplomatically in the region.
Well, I think that that people need to stop hyperventilating. The Chinese use good offices to provide a venue for the parties to meet and discuss. But again, these were conversations and discussions that have been going on for quite a long time. I doubt that the Chinese really had some kind of intellectual breakthrough that brought the parties together in ways that they hadn't figured out for themselves.
Right. Now, Mr. Bassett, I won't use the word hyperventilating, but certainly this development is causing some consternation here in Israel, and certainly among officials in Jerusalem concerned, wanting to see Iran isolated diplomatically. And now, while it's Jerusalem hoping to build ties with Saudi, seeing it move in another direction. How much should the concern there should be in Jerusalem?
Well, I think, and in fairness, there's been a lot of advancement over the last few years in terms of Israeli cooperation with the states of the GCC, certainly the UAE and Bahrain, but their ability to engage all the parties. There's de facto security cooperation between Israel and Saudi Arabia already. Israel and the Saudis both participate in U.S. Central Command activities. So all of those things are going on. I do think that, to a certain extent, there is a difference of view, a difference of priority between Israel and the GCC states. And again, it's very clear that the GCC states are less interested in really confronting Iran in ways that might provoke a hot war, because they have seen themselves, and they've been very explicit in saying that they see themselves as being the principal victims if there is a conflict in the region. So I think that the GCC priority has been to find ways to reduce tension, and the Israelis perhaps not so much.
All right. Well, certainly, yes, that's, as I said, it's certainly a surprise here in Israel to this development. Ambassador Gerald Feierstein, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.